from him. So Royal Youth are like, we are not taking the chance. Pilot is our late game insurance policy. Some generic Green Weeks fans may remember the name. And he's like, I'm not dealing with that Alistar in the lane.
And he was one of the original generic Green Wings as well. Actually was a sub behind Captain Jack, a name that we all know for his cleanse skills, but that was a very long time ago. This guy is a tried and true Jin man. And of course, that comes with a lot of farming, a lot of Sivir. You know, this guy lives up to all of those expectations. The Renekton is going to be the first pick, as there's Canyon's Lee Sin to come out second round, and Nuclear is going to be on his ever so comfortable Kaisa.
To quote a very intelligent man, Bryce, whenever Lee Sin is in the meta, it is a good time, and I'm very excited to see it. Now, I'm curious, with the Rakan and the Xayah still left open, if that meant that they were going to try to prioritize the Xayah-Rakan duo up front, or if they were going to try to separate the Nautilus, because Nautilus Kaisa is kind of the go-to that you see in that bot lane, but right turn, I'm getting a Leona instead. I love Leona into Xayah. I think it's such a good matchup because A, Rakan is super telegraphed when he dashes for you, so it makes hitting that stun on Leona very easy. And then also, if you think about the Xayah ultimate, if you drop a well-placed Leona ultimate, you can force Xayah to ult before the team fight even begins. Yeah,
and then you can follow after, of course, with the Zenith Blade plus Shield of Daybreak with a bit of a buff. On this patch as well, we are now into the next ban phase, and Qiyana and Akali went all the way through here. Of course, Akali being changed a lot over the last 3 patches, but this is ShowMaker. This guy had probably one of the best plays in the LCK on that Akali, still been spamming it in solo queue, and yes, those scores are disgusting. If you see them, the Elise is going to be taken off the board, and once again, we've got Renekton priority, and then Elise sort of slips through.
I think there's a lot of scary mid laners that are still left open. Ryze, Cassiopeia, you just talked about the 2 assassins in Qiyana and Akali, so I think there's a lot of options. In terms of who I'm going to back, it is going to be someone like ShowMaker, who has this reputation of being either the second best or even best mid laner, depending on who you're talking to in the LCK.
Well, Talia is going to be taken off the board. Of course, Canyon rating this pick extraordinarily highly, currently smashing EU West players with it in solo queue. And it was very popular over in Korea before we made our way here. It was in the promotion tournament that Talia really jumped off the page. And the Quinn is going to be taken away from Nuguri. Okay, I mean, you may as well just ban something against the guy, right? Because his champion pool is about 1 million champions.
It could also be a reflection that Renekton...
God, are we getting it game 1? We are, okay.
That Renekton is going up into the top side, and so trying to really pinch the ranged carries that can go up there, like the Quinn and the Kennen.
Well, that is Nuguri or ShowMaker's Vladimir locked in. Nuguri, the most famous Vladimir on this team, but ShowMaker often picks it up and also manages to hard carry on the pick. But it was all about Nuguri. This guy was the man that came up with the 20% CDR from your items that you rush, and then you can smash people from level 9. Everyone's been copying this guy with how he plays the Vlad.
And I think with this Qiyana being locked in, it does mean that we should get an AP jungler. The AP Echo has slipped through, has yet to find a win at plans, but otherwise you have an abundance of physical damage that is coming out of Royal Youth's composition right now, so I think they really need to mix up their damage profile with this last pick.
See whether they can find one. Currently, 8 seconds to go. Still haven't really figured it out yet. The Karthus is banned away, the Elise is banned away, and the Talia is gone. So Sylas is what they're going for. And we've heard a lot of talk about the Echo and why it hasn't been successful. My personal opinion is that people are trying to play it as if it's Sylas. So you may as well just pick Sylas, even if he has been nerfed into the ground.
Also, the interesting thing about the Sylas pickup here is it meant that we got to wait until the last pick to see ShowMaker pull out the LeBlanc, and now Royal Youth can start organizing their composition. By taking the Sylas, it gave them another flex pick.
This is cute.
So they could put him in the mid lane and then throw Qiyana in the jungle, but you're kind of getting the same thing from that, which is post-level 6 junglers. Qiyana does have a window in level 4 where she can CC lock, especially if she has CC set up for herself, but otherwise it's usually about that big hitting ultimate.
Yep, I like it a lot. Got a little bit caught by the fact that we were looking for more AP, and you may as well just put it into the mid lane. So Cyeol is going to be picking that one up. Interesting note as well came over from the LMS. Did Cyeol into the mid lane and has only recently joined this Royal Youth squad. And if you have questions about his name, it actually just comes from his actual name. His name's Chungyeol, back in Korea. And so not all that imaginative, but we'll see whether he can get things done here on this Sylas. Was a lot on Corki and Azir duty during their final, so good to see him on something with a little bit more agency, as Royal Youth will be up against DAMWON Gaming in their first one. A tough ask, of course, and against Nuguri's Vladimir. We'll see his keystones, of course. There's been some information floating around about the amount of times that he takes Kleptomancy. Don't know whether you should necessarily take it into the Renekton as Vladimir, but he's done worse things.
I got a spoiler alert for you. He took Klepto.
Oh, God, of course he did.
So the Klepto King is here, and we are about to take the Rift. Again, we expect this to be topside-centric. A lot of spotlight on both of these solo laners. And can Royal Youth solo laners survive DAMWON Gaming? Are we about to see someone speedrun the play-ins?
Yep, we'll see what DAMWON can do. Here we go on to the Rift for game number 1 of day 2 of play-ins. It's Royal Youth taking on DAMWON Gaming. So already, we're at level 1, Froskurinn, and it feels like it's tough for Royal Youth. Because you have to get over the sort of hurdle that's mentality, right? These names are coming in with so much weight behind them, even though this team only just qualified for the LCK. They've only been in 2019, and still, Nuguri, ShowMaker holds so much weight. ShowMaker already throwing himself into the enemy jungle.
He's also already picked up a ward from a Klepto proc, so you can see that Vladimir and LeBlanc are both running the Klepto Keystone. You can see the ward sitting in ShowMaker's inventory, so I'm curious where he's going to place it to get some information on early pathing, because if you give Canyon early game pathing information, that's when you start to see these LCK junglers really destroy you, is how efficient they can be with any sort of knowledge.
Yep, also closer on this, Qiyana. We'll see how well he's going to navigate his jungle with Canyon, potentially able to meet him at almost any point. Does like to play a little bit more aggressively with his paths on the Lee Sin. Likes to get things done. But Canyon, he's a counter ganker, right? That's how Canyon plays his game. That's why he got so many LCK MVPs, because he'd come to a lane that Nuguri and ShowMaker have set up for him, and he just picks up a kill. And so he walks away at the end of each game like 7-0-11 saying, thanks guys for the carry, but still picks up an MVP. We'll see whether he's going to be able to have some agency himself to get things done, or whether he'll even need to, based on the laning phase that DAMWON are going to have here.
Minkos talks about this a lot. When you're a jungler for a team that has such incredibly talented solo laners, it makes your job easy, but it also makes your job hard, because when they are playing forward, when they do need pressure and resources, you need to make sure that you're kind of balancing everything. If everyone wants to be aggressive all the time, then he needs to be on point.
Nuclear already with a flash on the bottom side of the map, had to get out of the way of that grand entrance. Pilot almost down to below half health, but that potion will get him back up over the top.
And let's kind of have some real talk while we are focused a little bit on DAMWON before we move over to Royal. I think if you are going to try to attack DAMWON anywhere, it would be in their bot lane. They typically do draft more defensive style bot lane, so obviously going kind of the opposite way there with Kaisa, Leona, and full combat summoners. This is maybe just trying to find that confidence on stage, and you are probably at a skill disparity between an LCK seed versus one of the emerging regions, but I think if you really wanted to pack firepower down here, this would be a way that you could try to break DAMWON.
And already they've got a flash, so in theory, certainly a place that you can attack this squad. Nuguri pretty safely under his turret, but that's a great trade there from Armut. And Nuguri does like to play with his health bar a lot, especially on the Vlad. Certainly can do that with the Hemomancer, able to transfuse his way back up to health, but does need to be a little bit careful, and that is not necessarily the way Nuguri plays the game of League of Legends. ShowMaker being very aggressive here, but melee versus range, it is going to be a tough matchup here for the Sylas in the earlier stages.
Yeah, and you can already see the pings down into the river, so Royal definitely catching out that Canyon is underneath, and you can see that Cyeol?
Yeah.
How would you?
Cyeol would be how you'd technically pronounce it, but you can just do what feels best for you, Frosco.
I'm gonna follow your lead as the Korean expert here. Cyeol standing on the top side of the map, so definitely recognizing where his weak and strong side were.
Yep. Cyeol, of course, not playing in Korea so much. Had a brief stint in the LSPL over in China, and then moved over to the LMS for the majority of his career. Now he's here in Turkey, trying to make them proud against his home region.
And as we do now kind of turn our eyes on Royal Youth and what our expectations are for this team, it is really a top-focused team. Armut and Closer are kind of the duo that came to this team together, and so you'll usually see them spending a lot of time together. Cyeol and Closer don't necessarily have the same synergy. Cyeol is an excellent laner, but I think especially when post-lane phase breaks, if you keep your eyes on him, his lane assignments are sometimes fumbled. He's not quite as synced up with the team, so clearly mechanically very sound, but I think is still kind of suffering from some growing pains and finding his footing with this squad.
And I think that Royal Youth need to get some things done in this early laning phase, because as you can see, this is Kleptomancy on both of the solos from DAMWON, and they're still winning. And that's bad. That feels really bad as there's the flash in. They are getting something done here as Nuclear, no flash, no life. First blood for Turkey on the bottom side. Beryl just has to look on in horror as Closer comes down and successful first game.
I mean, Closer was really just there for moral support. He's like, yeah, guys,
Great moral
get up.
support, though. That's first blood, right?
Didn't even get the assist there, as it was all just Pilot and Tolerant making good on the flash they burned earlier. So well done there. We talked about this. If you just add a bunch of firepower into the bot lane, you can try to break DAMWON's bot laners.
And also, talking about firepower, that's why they've added Tolerant here to this roster. They actually took out DWG in order to get this guy. DWG, of course, as everyone remembers, the guy that first-blooded Faker on Qiyana. Like, this guy was a Bard main, things like that. But Tolerant, he plays the Rakan, he plays the Nautilus, as we have a look at the replay.
Yeah, and it's kind of one of the coolest storylines for this team is hold it.
Yeah, we're fighting again. Nuclear is at full health, but Beryl not so good. Flashes board, Shield of Daybreak, Tolerant, battle dancing to try and get out one more auto, and Nuclear's going to answer back.
TP?
Bottom side, we got teleports, we got a party on the bottom side. 3 versus 2, Nuclear's dead once again. Is it going to be a double? I think the answer is going to be yes, and Royal Youth are attacking the weakness of DAMWON beautifully in this early game.
And the fadeaway on the other side of the map. Nuguri is just like, question mark, missing thing? I mean, to be fair, he's not going to follow that down as the Vladimir. You're looking at a double Doran's now. Executioner is calling from the Renekton, so Armut was going to do a lot more damage. But what did he sacrifice on the other side of the map? Multiple waves getting shoved in. I'll take a look at the CS discrepancy. It's about 15 right now, so we'll see if that pays off for Nuguri in the farther on in the future as we go into this game.
I just really like that we're seeing exactly the DWG Gaming that we were expecting. The solo lanes are places that everybody else wants to get out of, and the bottom lane gets punished.
Yep, just overcommit there for the kill. They go back in, they try to play it. You can see, pretty much written in stone, TP behind him. Thanks very much.
Yep, the Ocean Drake is taken pretty comfortably there by DWG with the help of a teleport back to lane from ShowMaker. He's going to move on forward also. So 12 CS going to be the lead for the LeBlanc. Remember, that is Klepto that's going to be expanding that as well. So despite the fact that we have a few extra kills going over to Royal, it is still going to be very close as far as gold.
But now it's about kind of where does Closer actually attack next on this map. You can continue to try to abuse the flashless bot lane. It's now Beryl who doesn't have his flash, but a tankier opponent. I kind of expected him more, again, to play around this top side of the map, but maybe he's looking at a Vladimir and it's like, there's no way I can try to break that. You know, Vladimir's a great champion into Renekton. It's really hard to tower dive him. He can basically just walk away, self-sustain, and sit into that lane. And you can see, again, that Armut's trying to itemize to put some sort of dent into Nuguri, but with the Klepto, with the CS lead, and now with the TP lead, it might just turn into a free farm lane, and we see it team fights.
The thing that I really like, though, about what Royal have is they have Closer now with 2-0-0 on that scoreline as a Qiyana jungle. So he's going to be extremely relevant moving into the mid game that Royal Youth are going to have to make good on.
Yeah, and I think the issue is that the dragon was actually taken. So when you have a Qiyana, she is so good in the river because of how it uses with her CC, and if there's a dragon live and available, the opportunity of actually being able to catch people out with your Qiyana rises because there's more reason for people to be in the river. Now, since the objective is gone, the lanes are pushed forward, there's just no gank access, Closer might actually just be sitting with this Qiyana like, I have to force a play, I have to do something, instead of having an opportunity to look for a big 5v5 around a dragon pit.
And is it going to be too dangerous to go for the Rift Herald, which is also near a river, just a more northerly one? A minute and a half until Shelly makes herself known on the Rift. Canyon looking for a potential gang in the mid lane. Pulls on cooldown here as Nuguri throws down a defensive Hemo Plague. Tides of Blood in. We'll see whether he actually turns it around as we've got a second kill for DWG in the mid lane. As Canyon locks that one down. I think that may have just been a Q landing.
And if you've been watching ShowMaker on the minimap, basically the entire lane phase, he has been living underneath this tower, just constantly diving forward. I know LeBlanc is technically an assassin champion, but I like to think of her more so as a poke champion. She's just basically, if Nidalee Spear was a person, you're just constantly throwing it in, chunking people out.
I like that. I haven't heard that reference before. As Beryl, he's got the Eclipse running, as that's a lot of damage onto Tolerant, but Beryl very close to falling. Nuclear misses the Void Seeker, and that Q hasn't evolved, doesn't do a lot of damage. Tolerant just chugging some potions will be okay, but Beryl not going to be able to go in as easily.
And even though Nuclear and Beryl still look like they're playing on the back foot here, because ShowMaker has pretty much destroyed this matchup. Sylas isn't going to be able to do anything. Not being able to pivot from the mid lane and then try to rotate to your bot lane to continue to pile in on Xayah and Rakan's success is really going to slow down any sort of snowball that Royal Youth are trying to create. So again, it's the fact that they don't have the access to immediately play around a dragon when Qiyana's feeling really good, and it's the fact that they don't have mid lane priority to try to unlock Sylas and rotate out to their duo bot. So until this Rift Herald spawns and they break the lanes, which you can see that they're pulling Pilot and Tolerant up now, Royal Youth were kind of in the situation where we feel strong on closer, but we can't attack with him.
Well, we've got a control ward here. It's going to spot out that Shelly has been attacked by 3 members of Royal Youth right now. And with the fact that Vladimir is able to push out this minion wave and head down to the river, we might actually have a bit of a fight. Beryl makes his way up, and Nuclear with Killer Instinct in hand is moving on over, so too dangerous for Royal Youth. They will pull away.
Yeah, this is absolutely a terrible setup from Royal Youth right now. If they force this and they find a pick and get lucky, they don't have priority in either top or mid lane, which means walking into this river is, you just don't control the space. So they need to get forced out of this and really respect the minion waves, force these waves out, and then slowly move in as a group.
Yeah, feels a little bit like taking a Rift Herald against DAMWON Gaming is a bit of a bait. Let's just not do that one, as DAMWON are considering doing it themselves.
I actually like this call better. If you look at your minimap, you can see the on-the-way things from Royal to trade the objective bot lane for the Renekton for the Herald. I think Tolerant just, again, keeping vision, does need to be respectful.
Yeah, at the same time, we've got all 3 lanes being shoved, in fact. Pilot topside as the quickness comes in. Shield of Daybreak's going to put a stop to it as Closer dives on in. That's a great ulti that's going to run around the Baron pit, but I don't think it's enough damage. That's the kill under the Qiyana, just destroyed as Pilot has to flash instantly. A defensive kick gets rid of Shield there on the backside as Tolerant will be running for the hills. And DAMWON, they take Shelly and they take a kill and they'll walk away.
But they did pull up Armut. He had roam potential because Nuguri TP'd into the bot lane. He now has some access into a possible plate on mid lane, depending on how quickly DAMWON can get back behind their mid lane tower.
I'm just scared, though, because Nuguri has a CS lead still, 10 ahead, and he's building very aggressively as Tolerant has to get the hell out of the enemy jungle.
And they're overstaying. Royal Youth actually need to back because the Infernal has spawned, and because their jungler, top lane, and support are still on the field, they're going to lose so much priority over the mid lane, which will bleed into this river control. I think the fact that they tried to overstay for that plate in the mid lane will actually cost them the Infernal.
Yep, and already 2 plates actually went to Nuguri in the laning phase on the top side of the map. We've still got 2 minutes until they do break down as Armut looking for Nuclear. As if he stuns him, there's going to be Killer Instinct opportunity, but he's not going to be able to because there's just no one there to get any CC, so he's eaten up by the Culvermeek. Slicing and dicing, and look, Nuclear, that was on brand, but it's not necessarily what we want to be seeing here from our DAMWON 80 carry.
That's a welcome back to Europe.
Yeah, I think so.
TP.
Whoa, that's an aggressive teleport there into the DAMWON jungle.
That's a double teleport.
Look at it as there's the grand entrance, immediately pulled. And Nuguri says, that was cute, but we're not going to do anything. Speaking of not doing anything, Royal Youth just steal away the Infernal Drip.
Yeah, and here's the thing. You saw DAMWON was set up. I was like, Royal Youth, they've overextended for that mid plate. They're now going to lose tempo on the field. They're not going to be able to set up for Infernal. But with Nuclear just kind of piecing out of the top lane and Armut able to walk from bottom all the way to top to kill him, kind of a head scratcher.
Yeah.
DAMWON just are looking at the Infernal. They had the space. Good staggered backs from Royal Youth to make sure that they had the numbers advantage to kind of peek in their head. And they end up walking away with it. So very well done from the Royal Youth squad.
Yep, and of course trading an Ocean Drake for an Infernal Drake makes our Royal Youth feel really good about how this one's gone. This plate may go begging, so we don't have very much longer before we can take that crockery off the map as Shelly pops down and should be able to get rid of the last ones up here as Nuclear probably should be scared of crocodiles, but does see him on a ward.
But in time to get the plates for Nuclear, which I think is the big thing right now because Kaisa was not doing well in between a lot of those items, just sitting with the BF sword. So that was some very much needed gold for Nuclear to pick up.
Yeah, it looks like it's not going to be the Manamune build as well coming out from Nuclear, so see whether that one's going to work out better than the previous Kaisa builds. It feels like you just build damage items and she's going to do stuff, right?
I think it's also the versatility. Kind of one of the reasons why we see Kaisa as such high priority with Xayah and Kaisa is not only because everything got nerfed around them, but also the flexibility and build path for Kaisa that she can emphasize more towards a magic damage versus physical damage. And obviously when you're between a Vladimir and a LeBlanc, helps just to start stacking them BF swords.
Yeah.
That attack speed.
Mm-hmm. Or pickaxes, whichever ones you want, as
Just
long as they have some
at least
easy
2
stuff on them. Yeah, perfect. As Royal Youth, they're probably feeling pretty comfortable with how this game's gone so far. 4-3 as far as the kill score is concerned. They can't see the gold. So they're probably still fine about that, and the Infernal Drake is really going to be helping them as they move further and further into this game. But as we look at these compositions, I see a Vladimir in the hands of Nuguri, and that just sounds like it's an ominous sign. You know, I've had to deal with this so many times in the LCK where DAMWON, they fall behind, but in the end, the analysis is, but Nuguri Vladimir.
When I watch DAMWON team fight, I kind of think of it as a divide and conquer style of team fighting, that even if all 10 players are kind of stacked in a single area, you're basically looking at Nuguri, you're looking at ShowMaker, and just how much those two players on specific key champions like you're talking about with Vladimir mean in the scheme of things. And I think with these types of mobility tools on virtually every single champion, save for the Leona, it's really difficult to try to contest with the LCK representative in a team fight.
But really fun to commentate. So when you come on over to be
action
the
happening
for
everywhere,
good old Pubba Smithy, you'll certainly enjoy some more DAMWON gameplay, and a lot of our other teams also just as good. You know, had to say goodbye to Jin Air, but otherwise everything's fine.
Well, it's perfect that you have to say goodbye to Jin Air because say hello to Pilot.
Hello, Pilot.
Pilot, formerly of Jin Air, came over into Royal Youth. He's kind of their late game insurance policy. Now, they basically don't feed resources into Pilot. Like, this game, he got ganked, but that's actually pretty unnatural. Obviously, a pretty well thought out strategy from the Royal Youth.
I like the adaptation.
Camp to be like, we're against DAMWON, where can we attack them? Let's try to attack them in the bot lane. Very well thought out there, but this guy is so good in team fights, and they have a very traditional kind of front to back 5v5 composition.
Well, here's Canyon doing what he does best, ganking for Nuguri on the bottom side of the map. We'll see how aggressive Nuguri is going to go to start this one up as the Q misses, and Canyon just walks on by. He says this is absolutely fine. Nuguri says that he still wants it, and will get the Dominus out of the Renekton.
Yeah, but credit to Armut right there. He cleared out the minion wave, made sure that they couldn't look for the safe dive, and he's buying time for Royal Youth on the other side of the map. So cross map, Royal Youth out trading. I don't know what he was doing.
Solar Flare used for vision, maybe? Oh no, it's just because it was running out. It was hijacked. Sylas has been out for so long that it gets a little bit perplexing. Okay, that's absolutely fine. Cyeol just getting the run out of that particular ultimate. Damn, hijack confuses the heck out of me. It's a bothersome ability for a commentator.
You're like looking for Leona. Where
I know, right? Where is she? She was in the mid lane.
I think it was against the minion wave. It was just, you know, some extra.
Just insert random excuse here, basically.
I got you.
Yeah. I've missed this. Okay, Nuclear and Beryl in the mid lane. ShowMaker has eclipsed the gold that had been closer earlier on, but he's fallen down by about 1,200.
Is that really fair, though, when two people are running Klepto?
Look, Klepto's, it's going to get a nerf, all right? You heard the stories about Nuguri is we've got an ultimate into the wall, looking for the one-shot, and Closer finds it all too easy onto Canyon, and that's not all they're saying here as Beryl goes down to about half health. ShowMaker trying to return the favor as Nuguri does get forward. Big stun there, finds the backline. It's Beryl. Goes golden, but there's a Vladimir now here. Qiyana gets a second kill. The Hemo Plague onto 2, but they've moved out of the way of the Vlad. And DAMWON, they just lose a couple of kills and don't get anything for it.
Yeah, so well done there. Shout out to the bot lane from Royal Youth, Tolerant, who set that play up, or excuse me, Closer, who set up the play, and then Tolerant and Pilot following it up. Beautiful callback on the feathers. Massive damage on 2. Pilot's like, I wouldn't have gotten Jin Air relegated, but I was still there. This is the best you got.
And now he has a 32 CS lead as well, so he's really giving it to Clear here as we check out this early game fight. I
believe a supreme display of talent as Canyon was baited by the ward.
Yeah, that was definitely the namesake.
Yeah, Qiyana's a fun champion. She comes equipped with everything. Assassin potential, CC, cup holders.
Oh, the Blade Caller was just beautiful onto the 2 members of DAMWON, and they just didn't have any opportunities to answer any damage back, especially when you don't have Phase Rush on the Vlad. I mean, this is the most greedy Vladimir that you could possibly have. So Nuguri doesn't have all of those tools yet. We'll have Spellbinder in this build eventually, but doesn't have it yet.
But you can see it on Royal Youth's faces, because now you can start to taste it, Max.
Nuguri's got a Nomad's Medallion, Frost.
Max.
What's happening?
No, you can start to taste the upset.
Oh yeah.
Are you nervous yet?
No, I'm not nervous. I really like Royal Youth. Don't worry, I'm a happy-go-lucky guy. My glass is always half full, Frosco.
So, kind of going back to Royal Youth, the cool thing about this team is that collectively, they never really were standout stars. They finally had their finals appearance. They took down Supermassive, but they've kind of been mid-tier players for a very long time, and no one was really expecting them to amount to much. So to be kind of on the cusp, where yes, still got down in gold, but definitely looking very proactive, taking bites out of DAMWON Gaming, like that is a Cinderella story in the making for this TCL team.
Well, Big Flash out from Pilot, decides to invest that one because, of course, the ultimate just not off cooldown yet. So 3,000 gold is almost the lead here for DAMWON, and it's all Kleptomancy, and yes, Nuguri has augmented his build by adding a cool hat. He's always very sun smart when he plays these AP champs towards the top side, gets towards that hat as quickly as possible, needing a wide brim.
So he's going to hit like a truck.
Yes.
Which means that the potential win condition for DAMWON at this point is eventually it's going to be really difficult to deal with this Vladimir into a side lane. And by eventually, it may actually even be now. I'm curious how the trades are going to go, especially with the death cap completed. And so that means that as Royal Youth are kind of getting stalled around this mid tower, as Nuguri chooses, either I can try to 1v1 hard push bottom, or I can keep pushing it down and then cutting in towards that mid lane and then forcing a fight with the numbers advantage as someone like the Sylas is walking down to pick up the wave. And these are kind of the windows that DAMWON are looking for. So Royal Youth need to really be on their toes and recognize, okay, anytime we don't see Nuguri in that side lane, we need to be so respectful and back up because DAMWON are looking to strike, to pounce.
Well, at the moment, it's Royal Youth that are looking for it. The quickness was used, Tolerant just running forward, and DAMWON not as tolerant themselves, just didn't want anything to do with that Rakan.
Even though, oh, I'll hold it.
Yeah, that's the chain. It is going to not register. Okay, pops back just in the nick of time.
Even though no one is being caught and there's not a big team fight, look at the CS lead. DAMWON are doing a far better job.
Just Nuguri trying to start it. Pilot does get slowed down, but remember, does still have the ultimate, and they just brute force the outer turret in the mid lane, not wanting any more, unless ShowMaker throws the longest chain and hits someone, but doesn't.
And again, back to the CS. You've got 200 versus 163. You have 190 versus 155. Outside of the 80 carries...
I see you didn't go any further than that.
Outside of the 80 carries, it's basically your two champions that can go out into a side lane. DWG Gaming have been doing a much better job of picking up the resources in the side lane, and then, like you said, brute forcing into that mid lane. And while they are forcing that brute force, that means that Royal Youth don't have their carries out into a side lane picking up that farm. That's so much golden experience that's dying and that they're losing. And then over time, DWG Gaming are just getting stronger and stronger and stronger, getting more resources more often with a better scaling comp.
And I want to talk about Royal Youth in this instance as well, because DWG Gaming do this to basically every LCK team as well, especially after Rift Rivals when they really started to hit their stride. So a shout out to Royal Youth here, being able to basically go into about 20 minutes into the game at a similar standing to a lot of our LCK representatives, which is a shout out to Turkey and how good they are as a region and how much they've been improving over the years. Is Frosker, you okay?
I was very scared. I was like, that's a bold call.
No. I just think that Turkey has been steadily improving. We'll see whether they can prove it here today. So they have a lot of Baron vision. That's a decent grand entrance. Canyon just insta-pops in, though. Nothing that he can do about that one. Supreme display of talent might be a problem, but Nuclear has the heal, keeps himself alive. Closer, running the hell out of there, as now we've got two different fights, and it's being won for the moment. Shield trying to get the work done. Kingslayer is going to keep him healthy as low health bars. On DAMWON's side, it's pretty clean, but Nuclear is going to go down. They're chasing after the Croc, but it looks like he's created enough distance. As ShowMaker pops back to the distortion, destroys the Sylas, and finally DAMWON have found a severe team fight win.
And that is one of the DAMWON team fights that we were looking for. Again, so much mobility on all of these different champions. These team fights get so hectic. It's going over walls, it's in and out of bushes, it's flying underneath people, flashing on top of them. You have to be ready at any moment's notice to change the course of battle with what these guys choose to do. And it started with Royal Youth looking at a flank, and you look at any other team, you're like, yeah, that's a perfect flank right now. They're overextended, they're separated, we can just pounce and kill them, and they don't get the chance.
Nope, not a chance. And I said severe teamfight win. I think it was actually relatively even, but it was one of the first times that DAMWON have actually been able to find a team fight or an opportunity where kills are happening where they've come out on top so far this game.
Yeah, and I do want to give credit to Armut right there. He tried his hardest on that Renekton. Looked like he might have turned the fight, but again, the mobility came in and it was slivers of health from DAMWON to walk away. Caster curse. Sorry, Armut.
Yeah, you certainly didn't need to talk about that one. That was pretty clear cut. Land the first chain, and then the crocodile was certainly dead. That's a handbag.
I like shoes.
Bottom side. You like shoes? I know you like shoes.
Yeah.
I follow you on Twitter, don't worry. I think you like shoes too much. Has someone spoken to you about this?
No, not yet.
Okay. We'll see. Okay, Canyon is going to be soloing another Drake. DAMWON just love their oceans. That's the one little infernal that's probably, in a lot of analysts' eyes, better than 3 ocean Drakes.
I mean, if we're constantly ducking in and out of fights, I'd give it to the ocean.
I guess it's all right as Supreme to player talent. And see you later, ShowMaker. Closer comes down. That's what a Qiyana can do. She can just stop you from being able to play League of Legends.
And frankly, what you doing there, ShowMaker? He's like, I'm safe.
Split pushing bottom lane, I think, is the technical term, as Tolerant going to miss everything in the mid lane underneath this outer turret. Beryl just wandering backwards. That was his strategy.
Maybe it's one of those situations where you're so used to Qiyana being banned that you just forget how quickly she can move on a map.
Well, Beryl actually out of position here. Not going to find too much, but does get the Zenith play, which is largely defensive, not defensive enough, as he's taken down by Pilot. He says thank you, as the Q is going to land onto Cyeol, but not going to follow it up just yet. Now, you were talking about, the Jin Air Pilot, and I was talking about him as well, but my favorite iteration of Pilot was the MVP Pilot. Wasn't because he was laning with a guy called Max, which is also my name, and that's pretty cool.
The Scion support?
Yes, that gets quadra kills on the Scion.
Yep.
Guys are pretty damn good at that champion.
How's
but also
my resume looking here? I got the LCK history.
Oh man, you're even trying. Bryce didn't give me anything when he was on the desk. Thank you so much, Frosco. You're definitely ahead of him. So I'm moving your resume up the stack as we speak.
No, I'm listening. Pilot, yes.
Yeah, so Pilot, when he was playing for MVP, he sort of subbed in and out for Maha during that particular split. And this was an MVP that was struggling a lot, as we will watch closer, just one-shot ShowMaker. We call this gameplay, ladies and gentlemen. Not a lot of it available there on the bottom side, but a huge bounty going to closer.
I mean, Closer's a cool story because I think, again, not a lot of people were looking at him. His summer split, he really popped off in a lot of different instances and started finally getting a lot of the acclaim that he needed in the TCL. I think he's, to me, the X factor or the difference maker. I know that, again, they rely on Pilot. Pilot is such a strong ADC in the league. But for me, Closer was the make or break difference for while Royal Youth are here.
That is another pop. Canyon eventually goes golden as we've got a huge ult into the wall once again, but Qiyana's dead as the supreme display of talent goes down. Hemoplague into the backline, but Beryl's already dead, and Pilot with a double kill, but Nuguri at full health. Keep your eye on him. All of the damage still up for DAMWON as Nucleus flashing into 3 people, but is still going to survive, and DAMWON are angry. They don't want to lose team fights like this, but it's an even one in the end.
And you can see those windows where Royal Youth are like, we've got it, we've done them, we've beaten them, we can transition into a Baron, but then it's like the final boss to show up and do this.
For Pilot, nope, not going to find it.
This is a 2-man army. ShowMaker and Nuguri right now.
Yeah, it's basically all the champions that you need at this point in time, especially with Nuguri so incredibly accelerated. That Nomad's Medallion getting even more value. He's got a 400 gold bounty, a 67 CS advantage over his Crocodile opponent.
I think the idea of kind of falling back to a champion like Vladimir, which is a comfort pick for him, but also having that scaling potential in a tournament where there are so many new teams who don't necessarily know how they're going to play is actually pretty ingenious and very safe, because then you know that you will always have that scaling option. You will always have that win condition.
I just really love that Royal Youth have done their homework with how they played the early game and with who they're focusing and who they're really trying to capitalize on, because Canyon out of position immediately, Royal Youth pounce. And yes, it was an even team fight, but that doesn't matter at the end of the day, because this is a matchup where you are considered the underdogs anyway. And if you can just keep playing it out, try and get Pilot to a point where he can theoretically carry, especially on a Xayah who has so many defensive options, certainly is a way that they can win this game.
And you're also then that much closer for Pilot to really start popping off. Had to diverge into the Hex Drinker, obviously, because ShowMaker and this Vladimir are massive problems. But outside of kind of that stepping stone, he is approaching that 3 item. And there are so many wards.
And there's Magi Soul Stealer on ShowMaker. He just wants to create a library. He's already got his Morellonomicon. He needs another book. Where's an Amp Tome? Needs to sell that Control World, I think. Just get as many books in there. He needs to be a studious mid laner.
I do want
it's a pretty aggressive decision, given the fact that he just got one-shotted by Closer earlier on.
I would say it's a confident decision.
Confident.
I think that's the word I'll use.
I think that's the nice word to describe what it could potentially mean, but we'll go with it for the moment.
That's also a really confident distortion over the wall.
Yeah.
So the vision and the vision denial is so important for Royal Youth, because we saw how explosive Closer's damage is and their potential to just blow someone up. And that relies on denying the vision so you can get the jump on someone. Surprise, the trap was here all along. But if they're unable to contest the waves and then lose priority over the area and then DAMWON Gaming come in, like you're losing so much gold placing all of those control wards, and then you have to do the terrifying thing like this where you're walking into fog of war, just, oh, I hope they're not in here.
Yeah, and at the moment, you've got Nuguri destroying minion waves on the top side of the map, and he's got a Void Staff now, and moving towards this mid lane. Armut probably not wanting to go up against this gentleman whatsoever.
But I think this is actually a really good example.
ShowMaker.
I'll hold it.
Tolerant gonna get out of the chain range as he does get tagged.
This is a really good example of how Royal Youth are a bit tunnel visioned and a bit fixated on the fight. Like they know we want to make the pick, we want to stack all of our CC, we want to immediately blow someone up, but they're not thinking about the setup. And it's DAMWON Gaming who are just going back into mid lane, getting priority, shoving it out, and then moving in and clearing out the vision. And because Royal Youth aren't taking account of their lanes, they're losing control over things like an Infernal. They're losing control over all of that money that they invested into wards. And it's really draining on their economy right now.
The thing I'm seeing out of DAMWON, though, is almost lax play. It's like they're relaxed, like they're on a holiday. Like, because it has been relatively slow. They've been losing things in the early game, but what they're relying on is just being better macro players as the game goes on, and you can see that by the fact that they just shut them out of the Infernal Drake. They managed to get all of that free vision around the Baron Pit with little to no resistance on Royal Youth's side, and they have had control of these side waves much more effectively as Closer tries to do it once more. I don't think it's going to work, though, as Canyon just closes the gap, and Armut's going to have to slice his way out. Cyeol also trying to abduct, but that's a really nice hijack solar flare to stop him from dying.
And the difference then was the hourglass. Picture perfect there from ShowMaker to make sure that he absorbed a lot of that damage and a lot of that time. Had the chain, came out of it, and just blasted them. That's now the jungler dead and DAMWON Gaming on the Baron.
Yep, they have started it up, and that's a lot of damage onto this Baron as well. Already down to half health as Armut Dominus pre-popped to start this one up. He's sliced in, he's dicing out as the Baron is dead for DAMWON Gaming. The solar flare comes in, he tries to commit to it, but the Crocodile was already dead and Closer still in the death chamber from earlier. DAMWON just walk in, take a Baron, even out the kill score, and it's like another day at the office.
And I like the fact that Royal Youth were trying to look for those continuous picks. They had worked for them over the course of the game. Qiyana shows up into a side lane, you blow someone up. But this time around, the itemization was there, the reaction time was there from ShowMaker, and it was the difference maker into finally cracking open this game for the Baron. There's the hourglass. Closer's like, oh wait, he's still alive.
Yeah. Got to check for that timepiece before you go for these sort of plays. You can do it once, but not going to be able to do it again. As Royal Youth not out of it just yet. 6,000 gold is now the lead at 32 minutes into this game. But Nuguri, he's got his Spellbinder now. He's got a full build. Nomad's Medallion, definitely part of it. This is how you add the Korean League of Legends to it. I loved Frostmancy for this case. That was facetious, by the way. Didn't love Frostmancy at all. But you get more wards. We love playing with wards, Frosco. As we've got another team fight as well, and that is a very dead ShowMaker.
Didn't check the time.
A little bit overly ambitious there and didn't actually have his timepiece available as there's the Feather Storm. So much damage, but Nuclear dive bombs into the backline and gets himself the triple.
Was that really Nuclear's damage, though, or was that...
No, it was not, but he was the one that had his name on the triple kill, all right?
I'm pretty sure that was the Vladimir damage. You saw the Spellbinder, the Void Staff, the hat, and the timepiece come out, and this boy hits like a truck. Look at that.
Yep, this is a 1v2 you don't want, mate. Oh, dear. Nuguri just turns around and kills him. That can be your shoes this time. That's what the Crocodile's turning into as Nuclear turns up towards the bottom side and Closer is already out of there. 1 kill away from an ace as the inner turret is going to be falling bot side and mid. And now the inhibitor turret going to be the next one on the chopping block.
And what felt like a very back and forth game in terms of the fights, the fact that Royal Youth did not go silently, that they kept trying to stand up, take their shots at DAMWON Gaming, got a couple of cheeky ones in there on the bot lane, but eventually, like you said, DAMWON just fell back to their macro, fell back to their micro, and are now just brute forcing this game away from Royal Youth.
Yeah, it's looking pretty scary. 2 inhibitors go down, and now all of a sudden, that gold lead has ballooned to the tune of 11,000, and no longer do we have the advantage with the Infernal Drakes because that was evened out. Tolerant still actually looking for more as that's a solar flare. It's going to land onto Pilot. Can they kill him before he can? Yes, they certainly can. 4 members down here, and you don't go chasing up a very dark lane when there's potentially DAMWON Gaming members waiting, and now it looks like they might be just trying to go for the end of the game. Only one member down, but it is Pilot. He's certainly a lot of the damage here for this squad. Did have those 3 items that we talk about so often. And now the siege is on. Tolerant tries to find the CC, but he's not going to be able to. Nuguri goes into his pool, but Tolerant's still alive for now. Nexus turret not so lucky. Still, one more does remain, and Canyon makes his way back in. He's got a GA. He can actually use that to try and get aggressive onto this last remaining turret.
They want a style.
Oh, yes. As in he goes, he's in the fountain, tries to get the one-shot onto Closer, but can't actually do it. The Nexus turret not going to be so lucky, as now the Nexus is that focus. DAMWON, it took longer than a lot of people expected, but they will be able to win their first game at Worlds. This team qualifies in 2019, and game 1 down at World Championships.
Not everything went according to plan, though.
No,
and
certainly
I think
didn't.
That's the takeaway. I definitely agree with you that it felt like when you were watching them perform that it did feel lax. It didn't feel as focused or as tight as we saw in the regular split or in the LCK playoffs. So I'm curious kind of what the final form of DAMWON looks like. And if they're maybe experimenting a bit. It was a very different look from the bot lane than we typically see. They usually like to go more for that defensive option.
Yeah, they also looked like they were having fun, though, right? It looked like a DWG Gaming that were comfortably playing the laning phase and taking double Kleptomancy in their solos, Vladimir into Renekton, which is something you wouldn't necessarily want to do. And yes, they dropped a couple of kills, but did it ever feel like they weren't going to win? I don't think so.
Well, they never really fell out of the gold lead once they had it.
It's because they kept taking gold from their opponents, actually just pickpocketing the whole time.
Lepto ruined stats. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
On the other side, though, Royal Youth, I think we got a couple of really good looks from them.
Yeah.
I think the team fighting looked really solid. I think you are starting to see some of those holes in some of the fundamentals in terms of, you know, prioritize the lanes first and then move into the setup versus getting a little bit too tunnel focused on, okay, what does my champion want to do? How do we play out this team fight? Let's set up for the team fight. And then you kind of get caught in your setup.
I just think the first 20 minutes of that game was actually really clean from Royal Youth. And yes, they got sort of outplayed micro-wise in the laning phase, but if you can keep up that level of just League of Legends in general and play that style of game, you're likely to get out of this group, right? You don't need to beat DAMWON to get to the next stage, and you're guaranteed to not have them in a best of 5. So I think it looks great for Royal Youth as far as moving up in this group.
Yeah, and I want to credit Pilot and Closer. I think Closer had a phenomenal game on the Qiyana there. Armut as well as kind of a honorable mention with some of his Renekton turns into the team fighting. So I think there's a lot of good things to take away for Royal Youth, and now I'm just that much more excited for the potential Flamengo versus Royal Youth showdown.
Yep, welcome to the DAMWON Gaming Gold Graph. It's not like what we were seeing yesterday with Warangelis doing all of the damage for his team on his Ezreal. This is what it looks like when it comes to DAMWON. It is all about Nuguri and ShowMaker. And yeah, of course, Nuguri just having a really good time transfusing a Renekton over and over again.
And we take a look at some of the highlights there. I think this is where you really got to see the Vladimir damage. Now, it was Nuclear that picked up the triple kill, but look at Nuguri on the bottom of your screen, that mini-map. He's coming in, and when he comes in, he's going to hit really hard.
Yeah. Tides of Blood after the flash, and I don't even think he needed a Hemoplague right there. Probably could have just killed them anyway. Yeah. Look, it's just what happens. And Nuguri's Vladimir has been banned in the majority of games, regardless of which patch it is. So just definitely a scary thing, and we'll probably see it on ban lists from now on.
I would think so. Now I just hope that we finally get to see him face off against the Shy. That would be...
Hey, that's going to be coming up potentially
I know, I'm like
in a
looking
little
way
bit
ahead.
more time. You're certainly getting a little bit ahead of yourselves. But let's see what DAMWON's top laner has to say after that win.
Thank you very much, guys, and thank you for joining me after your first victory. Congratulations on the first game on the world stage. Talking to Royal Youth before the game, they didn't think they stand a chance against you, and yet they made them run. They made you guys run. So what do you think about your first performance on the world stage?
우선 롤드컵 오셔서 첫 승리 축하드립니다. 사실 딱 경기를 봤을 때 로얄 유스가 우리 진짜 안 되는 경기다라고 생각했는데 사실 초반 때 좀 힘들었어요. 어땠나요, 경기하시면서?
일단 약간 저희가 좀 생각했던 것보다는 좀 뭔가 고전 약간 좀 킬 교환도 되고 약간 그런 장면이 있었는데 저희가 약간 좀 좋아하는 픽도 가져왔고 좀 자신 있는 상태여서 질 것 같진 않았어요.
Yeah, it's true that there were some kill trades in the early game, but we are confident because we got the picks we wanted, so we're pretty confident during this game.
Oh, glad to hear that. Now, as we mentioned on broadcast, you guys are the first LCK team to go through play-in. But for me, you're also the first LCK team to go from Challengers Korea to the world stage in 1 year. So how do you feel about this?
올해 LCK 팀 중에 플레인부터 시작하는 팀은 담원이 처음이에요. 그리고 담원은 특히 챌린저 코리아에서 LCK 롤드컵까지 바로 한 번에 오셨는데 어떤가요? 플레인에서 플레이하는 느낌이?
일단은 좀 예선전부터 한다는 것 자체가 일단 저희 입장에서는 저희가 이제 아무래도 신생팀이다 보니까 이렇게 좀 경험을 쌓는다 약간 이런 생각을 좀 많이 하고 하는 것 같고요. 이런 부분 좀 긍정적으로 작용하는 것 같아요.
We're actually we think positively about this, like starting from the plane, because we're a new team. So it's a really good opportunity for us to get experience.
So as a new team and as rookies in this competition, how do you see the play-in stage? Are you going to make it through easily?
그럼 신인으로서 딱 플레인을 봤을 때, 그룹을 봤을 때 어떠신가요? 이길 것 같으세요? 쉽게 올라갈 것 같으신가요?
저희가 그래도 쉽게 올라갈 거라고 생각하고 있어요.